Alright, welcome to part 2 on the 2001 Honda 400EX. As you guys know, last video we picked this thing up for $800, and the guy that sold it to me said it had very low compression and that it wasn't turning over or anything. So we got back home and I ended up hot wiring this thing to make it turn over, and we got the starter to work and it was turning over, but it had very, very low compression like the guy said. So we took apart the top end, and sure enough, the damage was there. Piston, you can see rings are pretty much welded to it. Lots of scratches on that thing. So I'm thinking it was probably overheating. And then the cylinder, same thing. There's a bunch of scratches on it. So that is not good as well. That one might hone out. I'm not sure. We have to take the hone to it and see if we can save that cylinder. Rockers are all fine, and the valve cover, and then the valves are actually good, not bent. We are going to, however, replace the valve seals in this, just so that it does not smoke on the first start. And then cam looks good. This is just the stock cam for it, and then everything else looks good. Cam chain was fine, and the crank was fine, so a little bit of side to side, no up and down, so the crank should hold up. We have not done the oil change or looked in the side cover over here, but I'm sure that's fine because it does shift. So anyway, today we're going to be testing out a very, very cheap kit. This is about 80 bucks on Amazon. I'll try to leave the link in one of the comments or description for you guys if you want to check this out. Not sponsored by these people. This is a niche industry kit. I don't know. Oh, here we go. There's the logo right there. Niche Industries. There's a lot of mixed reviews on this piston and cylinder kit. A lot of people say they work for about, like 3 hours and then blow up and then wreck their whole machine. And a lot of people say they last like 3 years, and a lot of people say they haven't had problems with them. So I think it all depends on which kit you get. I'm sure some of them are better than other ones from the factory. And then I'm sure it depends on how you put it together in your quad. So we're going to test this thing out today. I know a lot of people don't have a ton of money to rebuild their quads and are looking for a cheap alternative. So we're going to see if Niche Industries can come through and make this quad a beast again. So I was going to just get the stock piston for it and then just hone this thing out, but I think this is a good quad to test this kit out on, because I don't really care if it breaks. If it breaks, I'll rebuild it. I don't really care. I just want to know if this kit holds up, because I've seen so many mixed reviews. So this thing comes with a piston, a top end gasket kit, wherever that went to, over here somewhere, the cylinder, and then the piston right here. And then we also got a clutch cable for it, because the clutch cable was broken on this thing. And then we've got the bolt kit, because all the plastics are just kind of flopping here. So we got the bolt kit. Oh, here's the gasket kit for this thing. We got the bolt kit, and then we got a seat cover, HT Moto seat cover. Really nice. This thing was like 75 bucks on eBay. And then we've got the air filter, new spark plug, and then oil filter for the oil change. Ignition, because the ignition was missing right here. And then some more fuses, and then the valve seals for redoing the valve seals on the head right here, because I don't want it to smoke. So that's the goal for today, is to rebuild it with this kit, see how it runs. And I was going to put a stage 2 cam in, but I figured if this thing blows up, I don't want it to wreck my brand new stage 2 cam that's worth like 250 bucks. So if it does work, we'll go order that stage 2 cam and put that in after, because I'm curious to see how much power it can gain with a stage 2 cam and a big bore kit. So should be interesting. Stay tuned. We'll see how well this kit holds up. Alright, we'll start by opening this kit up here. Alright, here's the piston rings. Probably have to check the gap on those before installing. But let's just see if they're all there. Looks like they're all there. I don't know what the specs are for this thing, especially for a big bore kit, but it comes with clips, wrist pin, and then the piston. Let's see what the piston looks like here. Looks pretty decent. So we'll see if that holds up. And then we've got the gasket kit. And then the cylinder. So let's take a look at the cylinder here quick. A lot of times with these kits, you have to do some deburring because it doesn't come perfect from the factory, but we'll see. And this should already be pre-honed, so we shouldn't have to hone it. And it should match up to the piston perfectly. Let's take a look at this thing. Looks pretty good. So I think that's going to be good to go. Looks pretty solid. You can see the stamp right there. So that's kind of what we're working with. That's the kit. So we're going to install the top end first, and then we'll work on the head after that. Alright, and if I didn't mention it, this is a 440 kit. So it's quite a bit bigger than stock. And for a stock bore, this is what the ring gap is. It says top is 0.008 to 0.014. Second ring is 0.014 to 0.02. And the oil side rail is 0.008 to 0.028. So with the big bore kit, they're going to have to be a little bit bigger than that. So let's see. Here's the top ring. And you know which way they go because there's a little STD standard mark on the top of the ring right there. So this is going to be facing up. We'll put that in there and see where that ring gap is at. And we'll get the piston and just kind of shove that down there a little bit. And let's see if we've got a decent ring gap here. Let's see if we've got 0.08. So we're about Alright, so we're about 0.012 for the ring gap on the top ring. So that should be pretty good. That's on the higher side for stock. So I'm guessing that'll be fine. And then the second ring, black ring. Let's see what that one's at. Again, it's got the STD standard mark at the top of it. You can kind of figure out which way the ring goes. And we'll start with 0.12 to begin with. That one fits in there already. .014. So 0.014 is that one right there. And the second one is 0.014 to 0.02. So that's a little bit smaller. I'm going to push this down a little bit because that kind of sits further down. And see if that opens up a bit. And it really doesn't. So I don't know if that's a little bit too small for that second ring. According to the stock on the 400EX, it should be fine. For the big bore, it's probably a little bit too small. So we might file that down a little bit to make that a little bit bigger of a ring gap. Alright, we got the ring file down there. You can see the gap right there. 0.017. and it just barely fits in that gap. So I feel a lot better about that. It was 0.014 before, and that's like right at the minimum. We want the maximum, especially with this big bore. All right, we got the rings on the piston, and what you want to do here is stagger the ring gap. So if we put the piston in the front, we've got one ring gap right here. Then we're going to put one ring gap 180 away from that, and then we've got the oil ring gaps on the rings. Let's see, where are they? One right there and one down here. So they're all staggered. Otherwise oil can seep through if you have them all lined up on top of each other. So that's the way you want to do it. So the piston's all set to go. All right, let's get this base gasket on. I like to use a little bit of gasket maker so that we don't have a leak at the base gasket. Let's put a little bit of that on. You don't need a lot, just helps it stick and then helps it to seal onto the surface right here. Through. Alright, piston's installed. Just have to get the other clip in there. Alright, we have to transfer these four, I already did one, over to the new cylinder and tighten those down. So to do that, you take two nuts, thread one on like this. Take the other nut, thread it on. Then we're going to tighten that down. And you're going to take one of the wrenches and just go from the bottom. It's like a sizzle sound it's making. Finally got her to come though. And then we're going to transfer that one over to here. That one goes back here like that. And you'll feel it kind of bottom out. Because it won't move anymore. There. Alright, cylinder's all ready to go. Just going to oil that up and then we'll slip that over the piston. Should be good. Alright, piston and cylinder installed. Looking pretty good. We're going to go over here and work on the valves now. We're going to take all these out and then put the new valve seals in. We're using this tool, the valve compressor, to compress these springs, take off those valves. Just going to twist that off. You can see a bunch of carbon on there. We'll clean that up on the wire wheel as well. And probably gonna have to relap those valves. Alright, one off. We're gonna do the rest of them. Come back, clean them up, lap those in, and those valves should be good to go. You can see the carbon buildup. Get that off of there. Alright, so these are the valve seals right here. These are what we want to replace. Let's just take these guys off. Sometimes they're a little tricky to get off. Alright, these are the old valve seals, and we've got new ones right here that we're going to put on after we lap the valves. Alright, we're going to do the first valve. We'll lap that in. Little valve grinding compound right around here. Stick the valve down in there. You can see that valve's nice and lapped. Then the surface right here, you can see no imperfections. Same consistent color all the way around. So that looks really good. So we'll go into the next valve and then we'll clean this all off. Alright, check this out. Valves are all lapped. Looking really good. Now we're going to put the valve seals on. Alright, valve seals are all on. Alright, had this all done, looking really good. Valves are all lapped, cleaned up, no more carbon. So this thing is set to go. Let's get that installed next. Alright, the 4-cylinder bolts are 33 foot-pounds. Let's get those torqued down here. Crisscross pattern. Chain guide going in, and the gasket goes in after that. Hopefully I can get in there. Now we just bolt it down and torque it down. Alright, head is on, all torqued down. Now we have to set this thing to top dead center. So we gotta come over here and rotate this until we find the T. And then you want to check down the spark plug hole and see if the piston's at the top. If it is, you know you're at top dead center. So let's do that and then we'll install the cam. Alright, I don't know if you guys can see the T in there, but I'll try to show you guys. Oh yeah, you can see it. T with the line right in there. You line that little notch up with the line. And then, this is what this is going to look like for timing. We've got the cam right here. The lobes, which are right here, are pointing down. You're going to be able to see all these little holes for the oil. And then you've got a line up here on the top of the sprocket, and then 2 lines parallel to the surface of the head. One right there you can see, and then one right there you can kind of see it. Right there. So those are perfectly parallel. So this timing is spot on. And then of course the piston's at the top of the cylinder. So we can get the chain tensioner in, tighten that up, and then get the valve cover on. Right, valve cover going on. Got the gasket on there already. Alright, time to adjust the valves. So the valve clearance on a stock Honda 400EX is 0.004 inches for the intake and 0.005 inches for the exhaust. So you would have to make the clearances a little bit bigger if you were running an aftermarket cam. Since we're not running an aftermarket cam right now, we can just use the stock settings. So let's set those up right now. Alright, intake are done, then we'll do the exhaust. Alright, engine is all back together. Let's get a new clutch cable on here. This one is broken off, you can see. So we'll get that off and then replace it with a brand new one. This is the one I bought off of Amazon. I think it was like 20 bucks maybe. So let's replace that. See if the new one fits. The new one comes with a garter around the cable because a lot of cables melt right there. So let's see here. This one's coming off. And this one's going in. We'll have to adjust that later. Clutch cable's installed. Clutch is working perfectly. You can see down there. So that's all good. Let's get the ignition hooked up. So it came without an ignition. Last video I had to hot wire this thing. So last video I connected the black and the red together and then kept the green and the white and black away from each other, and that allowed me to turn it over, which was kind of nice. But here are the same color pattern on the ignition, so we'll hook that up, get that all perfect, and then move on to the next step. That plug-in is right there. I should just plug in. Alright, that should work now. Alright, we got the battery hooked up here. Let's just see if this thing turns on and the key works. Alright, we got ignition here. Turn it to on. Like that. Come up here. Alright, that's working. Sweet. Alright, let's get this thing lubed up here. Air filter installed. Alright, this is the tail light it came with. We're going to replace it with this one. I think that looks a lot better. Right there. All right, it's coming along. I'm not really sure why this thing blew up the way it did and wrecked the cylinder and piston. So I'm gonna check the oil and see what that was at. I'm guessing the oil was low and they just ran it out. I don't know for sure what happened. Maybe the oil pump went, but it's already, I can see that it's super low on oil. So if we go in, I mean, it says 0 oil, and I haven't touched it, so we'll drain it out and see how much was in there. See how much comes out of here. Already looking like not a whole lot. It's really black though. You can see that coming out. Look how black that is. So it probably hasn't been changed ever, I would say. Alright, let's see if I can get underneath here and get this one off here. Not a whole lot in that one either, I don't think. Pretty black. No chunks or anything though. Alright, let's take a look at the filter, see what that looks like. Just to see what's going on in there. There we go. Let's see what the filter looks like. Looks like it's the right filter. Looks like it hasn't been changed in a long time though. No chunks or anything in there. Alright, we got that all cleaned out. Let's get the new filter in there. Comes with a little gasket too. This end goes towards the spring like this. And you know what, before we replace the filter, I want to hook up the battery and see if oil pumps out of here, because that will tell us if the pump works. We got the battery hooked up. You can see our backlight's working now. That's pretty sweet. But let's just see if we pump it over and oil comes out of here. It's gonna come out of that hole right there. Let's see here. And sure enough, it does, so the pump is working. Alright, so we know it wasn't the pump that blew this thing up. It was probably most likely low in oil. That goes in there like that. Alright, so here's the oil that came out of it. You can see it's super black, so I'm sure that didn't help. And there's probably only like 1.5 quarts here. And there should be like 2, I think there should be 2 quarts, so definitely looks low and looks bad. So that's probably why it got hot and blew up. But I'm not 100% sure. At least we know the pump works, and that probably was not the problem. All right, I think we're gonna end it there. We got a lot accomplished today. We got the whole engine together, the valves lapped, and new valve seals on, brand new piston and cylinder, and then we got the backlight on, the ignition on, and the clutch cable on, and also the air filter hooked up. So a lot accomplished. Next video, we're cleaning out the carburetor, looking at the jets in there, because that could be another problem we could potentially have, and maybe it was running lean and that's why it blew up. So we're going to take a look at the carburetor. We're going to do the first start on it. Hopefully it starts. And then the oil change. We already did the oil drain, and it was super black. So definitely will be good to get some new oil in there. We got to get the battery hooked up, all the plastics back on and bolted up. And we've got that nice bolt kit right here. So we'll be using that. And everything should look really good. And then I've got some plastics for the side coming. Those didn't come for some reason yet. And then what else? We've got the seat cover we have to do. So we got to put the seat cover on. This one's ripped pretty good, so it'll look a lot better with the seat cover. And then we have to plastic weld the plastic right there. And I think that's pretty much it. Then we can ride this thing. So stay tuned for next video. First ride coming up, first start coming up. Should be very, very interesting with this 440 kit on here. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Till next time, we